Welcome to Behind the Lines, coming to you from the socialist, Marxist lines of Washington State. It's a crazy liberal petri dish for the rest of the country, folks. Stay up to date with all the great news right here. So, Joe Biden gave his big speech about his gun control executive actions last week. During that speech, he stated that no amendment in the Constitution is absolute. Such dangerous words for a president to utter. Every law in our country is based on the Constitution. The president himself swore an oath to the Constitution when he was sworn in as president. The oath states, "I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States." And now he feels that this is subject to be changed as he pleases, that the hundreds of years it is held up as law of the land are meaningless. Biden has acted like more of a dictator than president in his short time in office. As of April 8th, he's signed 48 executive orders, more than the last 3 presidents by this time in office. He's only had 1 press conference so far, and there is no set date to give the State of the Union. Most presidents have given this speech in February, and Biden has yet to say when this may happen. When he speaks to the press, he often refuses to answer or even take questions. He also rambles and seems confused quite often about the facts of what he is talking about. The Constitution was signed on September 17, 1787, and would become the law of the land of the United States. The main points of the Constitution were to limit government, protect rights, the separation of powers, and to provide checks and balances for the government. It is comprised of 27 amendments. The first 2 amendments, which held great importance to the framers, were the freedom of religion, speech, petition, and assembly, and the right to keep and bear arms. Biden now thinks that the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, is up for question, even though this has been debated by the Supreme Court over the years, and the court has generally upheld the right to keep and bear arms uninfringed. Amendments can be proposed to the Constitution by a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress, or, if 2/3 of the states request one, by a convention called for that purpose. The amendment must be ratified by 3/4 of the state legislatures, or 3/4 of conventions called in each state for ratification, not by executive action. Biden or any other president can make changes to the Constitution on their own. Attempting to alter the right to bear arms has been tried by several Democratic presidents and has almost always been prevented by the Supreme Court. In 1994, an assault weapon and high-capacity magazine ban was put in place by Congress under President Clinton. The Supreme Court upheld this ban during several legal challenges. The law had a 10-year lifespan and ended in 2004. Rulings by the Supreme Court since on firearm possession have called into question as to whether a ban like that would stand now. A 2017 review found this ban had little to no effect on firearm homicides. A 2014 study by Oxford University also found there was no compelling evidence that the ban saved lives. In 2004, the National Institute of Justice found the ban had little effect because assault weapons are not used in most gun crimes. In this most recent tirade about guns, Biden is saying that he wants to go after ghost guns and the pistol braces for handguns. And I would ask, how many of these mass shootings have ghost guns or pistol braces been used in? And I'm going to venture to guess pretty much none. So tell me how banning these things is going to change any of these gun violence crimes in any way. It's not going to. This is just some feel-good little law that is meant to appease all these people screaming for gun control. Pistols are most commonly used in gun crimes. Shotguns could be used, and banning the size of a magazine for a weapon is also going to have little to no effect because it's simple to just reload the gun if you want to continue to shoot. So the fact that one magazine has 15 rounds and one has 10 or 9, it's going to make it's just going to make no effect. It's going to make no change. And people who don't understand firearms apparently don't understand that these laws just won't matter. Maybe it's time to go after the criminal behavior and punish the criminals and stop letting these people back out on the streets. This is an ongoing problem in Democrat-run cities where you've got people committing felony crimes and have been arrested and put back on the streets 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 times. We've had this in Seattle a couple occasions, and I know in other Democrat-run cities as well, where they don't seem to want to punish criminal behavior, and they just keep turning these people loose on the streets to commit crimes against law-abiding people. Affecting these laws against law-abiding people is going to have no effect on crime or gun violence. Criminals are going to continue to find ways to get weapons illegally, and criminals don't obey laws, so these laws are not going to do a thing. I was a police officer for 9 years, fugitive recovery agent for about 20. I've worked in and around the courts in other capacities for over 20 years, and I am well familiar with the courts and the criminal justice system and criminal behavior. And I can tell you, until we start deciding to punish people who have committed crimes and make some sort of deterrent to committing crime, they're going to continue to commit crime. Turning people loose, talking about it, giving people chance after chance, unfortunately, is just not going to solve the problem. And it's not going to end the violence. You've got to punish these people and incarcerate these people. That's the only thing that's going to work. You can try to say or argue that it hasn't worked in the past, but if you look at these cities where they are cutting people loose and defunding law enforcement and not incarcerating people, crime rates are going through the roof. They're much higher than they've been in the past. So obviously, the system we have is not perfect and was not perfect in the past, but it was definitely more effective than what's being done now. All these big cities are seeing massive increases in crime and gang activity and drug use. And this new policy that the Democrats and liberal cities are trying to enact does not work. The bottom line about Biden's statement is it's dangerous language for the leader of our country to say that amendments to our Constitution are not absolute. It may be guns today, but tomorrow it could be freedom of speech, freedom of religion, or the right to a fair trial. Leadership and beliefs on how this country should be ran and what's important come and go. Our laws, protections, and rights cannot be left at the whim of each new leader elected to office. They need to be and have been steady and solid. This is why the process to add or detract from the Constitution is a complex one. This is why a single person in power cannot effect these kinds of changes alone. The president and other elected officials serve the people, not just the people of their party, but all of the people. They need to keep this in mind when they are considering laws and amendments which affect our freedoms. Freedoms that were established with good reason hundreds of years ago. We need to hold leaders accountable to protect our freedoms, our basic freedoms that at times we may not agree with, but collectively realize the importance of having for all of us as a free country and free people. If laws are being broken, then the lawbreakers should be punished, not the law-abiding citizens of this country. In the last 20 years, many of our freedoms have been eroded in the name of safety and security. This is a lazy approach or just an excuse to give the government more power and strip freedoms from the people. We have laws to punish criminal behavior, and they should be used. They should be enforced. The Constitution, Mr. President, is absolute. It is the law of the land. You are not. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Behind the Line podcast. I hope you will subscribe to the channel so you can get regular updates. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, I hope you will also like it, share it, and subscribe on YouTube as well. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Anchor, Spreaker. We're on various other podcast platforms. And you can find me on LinkedIn under John Washington. Again, thank you for listening. We appreciate your support.